about the conflict between strategy and having your attention on what you want. So on the surface, we employ strategies. The whole point of a strategy is to, facilitate a circumstance to be favorable to what we want. And so I'm somebody who has, Sun in Capricorn. So if you believe in astrology, that would make me, pragmatic. My soul, core personality has like an element of strategy and planning, and Saturn rules time. So what is time? Time is a span in which we plan for the future. The concept of time, without the concept of time, there's no point of planning for the future. So it's like within the concept of time that we, that sort of gives rise to everything that time sort of is required as a foundation to have that, worldview essentially, or that, the things that are supported by time, which would be like, a strategy. A strategy is only useful if you're thinking in terms of, it hasn't happened, but it will happen at some point. So what are the things that I want to do in order to achieve my goal? And that is all something that exists within a realm, when time is involved. So back to what I was saying. In my mind, I was thinking about, the conflict. I think the difficulty for, somebody who is strategically oriented, and then how that it can actually interfere with natural desire, because if delayed gratification is sort of like one of the things that is considered very valuable in our society and culture, that we don't go for what we want in the present, and then we stretch it out to have our fulfillment in some future, as a result of some future goal. So along the way, your body is probably constantly sending you signals and speaking to you, but you develop this mastery of not listening to those, stimulus in your body that sort of wants to be expressed and communicate something about you, or wants to draw you and point you in a certain direction. And meanwhile, we're just like, no, I don't want any of this other stuff enough to interfere with my goal. My goal is the only thing. Everything, all my energy has to be to meet my goal. And so what you're training yourself to do over a long period of time, if you're, sort of pathologically goal-oriented, and inevitably what you're training yourself to do is to not listen to what it is that, you could call it your soul, you could call it your body, you could call it your instinct. Your instinct for what you want is going to be dulled, because you're constantly going to be looking not to what it is that is satisfying to you, emotionally, physically, instinctively, spiritually. You're thinking about an image in the future that is attached to some, essentially like an unhappy motivation, because you're thinking in terms of, I want the thing that I don't have. And so why is that a problem? Well, it's a problem because you're unhappy. So basically what you're doing is you're employing a strategy to achieve something that you're fundamentally divided about. So, why are you divided about it? It's because you don't have it, because you've somehow equated happiness does not exist inside of me, or is not allowed to be expressed in any way where I'm naturally able to meet my, all the other things that would be fulfilling to me, because those would get in the way of achieving the thing that I want that I don't have. So yeah, I was thinking there's the paradox of strategy. Like, the more we think about what our strategies are and what our goals are, that takes attention away from being in touch with a fluid part of yourself that naturally expresses itself in a more natural and authentic way of meeting your needs, your daily needs, your momentary needs. And so, my point is not so much that, you should never employ strategies or whatever. It's just to be aware of this, relationship, because like whatever it is that you put your attention on, there is like an opportunity cost. An opportunity cost means that if you're doing one thing, you're not doing another thing. So if your time is spent thinking about what you need to be doing in order so that you can find fulfillment somewhere in the future, then you're less likely to be able to pay attention to what it is now that you can do that will allow the current of your life force to flow naturally in a natural way to find, fulfillment in your everyday life. And I think, as civilization, quote unquote civilization, Western civilization, but whatever, like Eastern civilization is very similar, it's become very complex, and like there's so much of our lives that is determined not really by humanness, I'll just call it humanness, human beingness, and it's more determined by mechanical thinking, or another way of saying that is algorithms, or directives, corporate policies, government policies, all these things that a person has to consider, in terms of if they want to find something in their life that they can't find, and then they have to like navigate through all of this complicated web of bullshit. It takes people away from, it naturally it has the propensity to give people a greater temptation to like live not, happily within their communities, within their families, and have a happy, human social existence. But like this, it makes us more insular in terms of like trying to figure out what our individual, what is it that I want, out of this life, like what is it that is good for me, like I need to go out there and get the thing for me so that I can be happy someday. But it's like this way that we've been turned into like these little cubicle drones by this mechanical way of approach to life that we've, like we go to school, what are we doing in school? We're getting good grades so that I can be successful, so that someday that I can, be the like have the maximum amount of power to choose what I want. But you know what? Guess what's going to happen? When you get there and you have the power, you're like, maybe you've succeeded in this world, maybe you didn't, but you're not going to really be in touch with your instincts or know what you want, because once you have that fulfillment, that you've reached this goal and you realize, hey, that was only like a picture, and now I have the picture, but I don't have any of the feelings that go along with the picture, because I realize I was just single-mindedly going after what my goal was, but not what I wanted, So there's a difference between a goal and what you want. And to really know what you want, you have to sort of be present within your body and pay attention to what it is that is going on, like inside of this, this physical or spiritual, being. So anyhow, I think, and that this is not something that is, really discussed widely, the danger of becoming too strategically oriented, because it's so, it's so encouraged, and we think the great people, of this world, they're like the great men, who like, and, great men and women who, sacrificed, all these things so that they could like create some image, essentially, and they've achieved something, like we herald achievement over really, a happy existence. So, like, what have we created? We have created a society of, lonely, atomized materialists, materialists in the sense of, just acquisition oriented, just like trying to get something that is like a thing that will make us happy. And so everything becomes a thing, like even a family is not really a family from the standpoint of the natural feelings that are like loving relationship feelings. It's like a family. I don't have a family. I want a family. So like, it's the thing that I want. So I need to like do these all these other fucking things to get the thing that I want, at the end of the road. So it's like everything is it's like a mathematical equation of this equals that. So then I must do this fucking shit that I hate, but then I will get this thing that I like. But, once you have it, you're just like, how do I even like function in this? I don't even know how, because I've never thought about like really what it is in this body that is really going on. So anyway, I'm sort of interested in, figuring out what is the truth, what is it, the truth that is going to make us, make the world, happier human beings, whatever it is, I'm interested in it. I don't really, discount anything that, if it's true, it's true, if it's not true, then it's not true, I try to be as objective as possible with my approach to, looking at the world, regardless of, politics or, whatever, religion and all this, nonsense that interferes with people's actual ability to just like say, hey, this is what it appears to, this is what my experience says. This is what the appearance of what it is. So, let's talk about that. Let's talk about our observations. Let's see what, our observations may only, be capturing one, minute facet of something. So, even an observation, has its limitations. So, that's, my approach to the world. I don't really stand firmly on one position. I'd like to consider all, different possibilities. Not all points of views, but all possibilities that seem reasonable to me as an individual. So anyhow, I'll leave it here. Have a good one.